Heyo Wastelanders, how's it going? Today we're being graced by royalty as we attempt to clear out the Mojave Wasteland as the one, the only, Roach King. Now for those of you who don't know, the Roach King is a random encounter in Fallout 3. He has a 15% chance of spawning, and he's located in the northeastern part of the Capital Wastelands map. As the name implies, he is the Lord of the Roaches, having assembled a small army of rad roaches whom he rules from a personally crafted throne. He defends his turf with a minigun and, well, somehow he's ended up here in the Mojave, but we're going to get back to that here in a minute. Before any of that, let's take a look at the gear we'll be using this run. Minigun, of course, it is our only weapon. This is the first character on the show who is using a fully automatic weapon, so I'm pretty pumped. While we're strong, we're also extremely frail. Not as frail as we were with Grandma Sparkle, being that she had exactly 0 DT. Our Wasteland Settler outfit has 2, so still not much of a difference. 2, at the end of the day, is better than 0, however. As powerful as we are, we'll still need to be careful, not just because of our fragility, but because 5mm ammo won't be available from vendors for quite a while. That's why we've started with as much ammo as we have. Every 240 shots we'll have to reload, and this bad boy eats through ammo like a hot knife cuts through butter. Our special allocation's pretty similar to that of Grandma Sparkle as well. We'll never meet the strength requirement for the minigun, but we can at least get our gun skill to 100. Speaking of tagged skills, here's ours for the run. Since big and small guns are combined in this game, I went ahead and picked Survival as our third. I thought that would make the most sense for our Roach boy here. Melee is completely useless in this run, but it's what we have, so I tagged it. Not really concerned, though, because it's not like we're going to need melee throughout this run, considering what we're using as a firearm. And just for this run, we're using a special mod to give us a Radroach buddy as a companion. Now, we won't use him the entire run, because I do want to try to keep him alive. The Roach King would certainly want that. But we'll for sure use good old Steve when it's safe to. Kudos to the modder who designed this, by the way. Info for this mod, as well as all others I use, are in the description, as always. Because, thanks to this modder, we now have a full-fledged little pal who functions as a full-bodied companion. Steve even gives us 15 doctorates, a sweet plus 10 to our science skill. Fun fact about the Roach King. Up until my Fallout 3 run as Craig Boone, which if you've got about 50 minutes to spare, you should definitely check out that run. It was extremely fun. I actually had never seen this character up until I did that run. My very first encounter with the Roach King was on April 14th of this year. That's 2024 when it stops being 2024. Never in all the years in my playing Fallout 3 have I seen this unique fella. Again, he has a 15% chance of spawning, so it's entirely possible to go multiple playthroughs without ever seeing him. He is hostile to the Lone Wanderer, and I presume anyone who isn't him or his loyal subjects. Now, we know that Gary is hostile to anyone who's not Gary, and I say that because I don't want a repeat of my Fallout New Vegas Gary run. So, I'm going to take this little trait of the Roach Kings and work it into something a little different, while still having plenty of senseless, fun wasteland bullet sponging. In Gary's run, we had a pretty fun gimmick to translate his hostility to all non-Garys, also a run I think you would enjoy, and that's the one the fans specifically voted for. In order to better understand how we're going to roll with Lord of the Roaches in this run, it's time for what we always do in these character-based challenges, setting the scene. Maybe one day I'll make that as a merch, like a slogan on a t-shirt. Come set the scene with Roz at Midlothian Odyssey. The Roach King, simply put, is a stowaway at Union Station. For once, the Lone Wanderer is not only alive in this timeline, but she, I feel like making TLW a girl this time, is a heroine of the Capital Wasteland. Various prospectors have been picking over Union Station, not realizing that the smell isn't coming from the train. The Roach King, having been hidden away in the rear car, with his loyal Radroach army, battle the prospectors right after the train activates. Now, unfortunately, only one honorable Radroach survived. That's Steve. Gotta say, pretty impressive that Steve is still here with us in this timeline. Roaches in real life live for a few weeks, couple of months. Steve the Radroach is a little over 4 years old, so he's ancient in Radroach years. We definitely have to take him to the strip with us during this run. He's the last friend of the Roach King, so we gotta try to keep him safe at all costs. But since this is hardcore mode and Steve is, well, a Radroach, it's very possible that he can die. In this timeline, the Roach King kills the courier and almost takes out Benny and his Great Khan goons, but not before the latter makes off with the Platinum Chip. My bad. To dispose of the evidence, the Roach King took our mailman's body out east past the Gene skydiving and left the corpse for the coyotes. Goodsprings has submitted to the rule of the Roach King, the people whom he now views as his tribute-paying subjects. Steve's been there to maintain order. Now, the Roach King finds himself with an unlikely ally due to him and Cook having a similar scent. The Fiends mistake him for one of them because, well, if they're liking him to Cook, he's gotta be some pretty bad news. Therefore, the Fiends are not hostile to him. That's another mod I'm using, by the way. Again, check in the description. He's the first character on our show who hasn't been attacked on sight by the Fiends, and I can't think of a more worthy candidate than our good king. The Roach King, being an honorary Fiend, also gives unrestricted access to Vault 3, and because Jet is useless for us because we don't use VATS in runs like this, once I have Day Trooper, I figure we'll go ahead and just sell all the Jet to Motor Runner because we'll at least have a consistent, albeit small, source of caps. Now, naturally, the biggest obstacle to the Roach King's rule here in the Mojave Wasteland is in the form of the NCR. Now, I had mentioned that we are very fragile in this run, and you're about to see here. You know, having the minigun has put us on a bit of a power trip here, so kind of understand why the Roach King uses this weapon, but yeah, without proper protection, we go down pretty fast. Second try, and with a minor change in tactics, we can withdraw and let the Great Khans draw the bulk of the NCR's fire. They go back in, and with them fighting the Great Khans, they're pretty much just standing targets. Now, you'll see that we're going to leave the Great Khans alive, and that's because we are an honorary Fiend, and the Fiends are some of the Khans' best customers, and of course the Roach King understands the positive effects of mercantilism, so gotta leave the Great Khans alone. Boulder City taking us a second try is a perfect punctuation on us being a glass cannon. We can take down most targets extremely fast, and that'll be true clear across the board once we start using different ammo types. But man, if we sustain any amount of prolonged fire, we are Dunyan rings. And it seems like there's one more NCR trooper for us to deal with. Well, that's no problem at all. The good king makes his way over and rains down ordnance in the form of tons of 5mm bullets upon this ignorant savage. Now, the good Roach King doesn't take any prisoners, so it's imperative that we dispose of the hostages. After all, the hostages aren't much use to us at this point. And something I didn't quite realize is that even though we do settle this little dispute in favor of the Great Khans, once we open the door here, about to see, we're gonna gun down the two privates, only for a Great Khan to attack us. I know that does happen before you settle the dispute in any way, but I wasn't aware that this happened after the fact. So we'll go ahead and reload a save there because we don't want that to happen. Well, we can deal with the hostages, but after the Great Khans are, you know, away from the area. Now, that might seem like a senseless act, but that sacrifice gave our good king the ticket to level 5. So as we level up, we're gonna go ahead and bump up our speech just a little bit because kings are diplomatic, don't you know? As well as our gun skill because we want to deal as much damage as possible. And hey, look at that. We have acquired the assistance of what appears to be a peasant girl, and she just gives us access to the bunker here. I mean, that's what the Roach King's decree is, so it's smart that she's going along with it. Now, we can't have something as powerful as a Brotherhood of Steel chapter obstructing us, so we're gonna go ahead and pickpocket McNamara as well as everybody else here who has a key card, and by that I mean the other two characters. I was really disappointed too because I tried to reverse pickpocket an NCR faction disguise onto McNamara, hoping that the Brotherhood goons would just gun him down, but no such luck. I guess McNamara and any Brotherhood character can't wear it. I know Veronica can't, but I didn't know that extended to the NPCs. That's a shame. Now, we're going to need some scrap metal for a little bit later in the run here, and I was thinking, okay, let's see how much we can get away with stealing from the Brotherhood of Steel here by exploiting the pickup option. Turns out that was pretty great, actually. Now, we're going to need a lot more for this later in the run, but, you know, it's good to have a look. It's good to start our collection up as early as possible. So while we collect our tribute from the Brotherhood, we'll go ahead and close the door, you know, because Veronica has to make sure the peace is kept in here, right? However, we only need to maintain that illusion for a little bit longer here. Head Scribe Taggart and his apprentice, so no big deal there. And I'm not sure why the screen is flashing. Maybe that's from the combat in the other room. Veronica's really got our back. It's good that she's sworn to the Roach King already. And I mean, hey, she was thinking about leaving the Brotherhood anyway, so it's not like we did anything wrong here. Miss Veronica died for a wonderful cause. And yeah, the rest is pretty much history here. We can go ahead and use our stealth boy and sneakity sneak our way on out of this bunker once and for all. A major, albeit weakened, superpower has been obliterated. That's one less obstacle for our good king's reign. And speaking of major factions, we're going to fast travel back to Boulder City and skedaddle our way on down to Camp Forlorn Hope. It's good to see that they're so welcoming, despite the fact that we are vilified with these guys at this point, I think. We're either hated or vilified. We should be vilified, and if not, we're about to get it. And if we really want to hit these guys hard early on, we got to go to where their white mage is located. You get rid of the healer, the rest of the raid team just falls flat. They should have really invested in a tank character, but maybe the tanks are the 3 guys on the bed here, and they need some massive healing because the DPS just is terrible with drawing aggro away. It's what they all get for being undergeared. The best strategy that we can use while clearing out Camp Forlorn Hope here is to go back into one of the tents. We just stake a claim here in Dr. Richard's little makeshift home here, let the military police come in here, take him out one by one. All they had to do was swear fealty to our good king here, but I don't know why they seem so opposed to this notion. Everything in the Mojave Wasteland would just go so much smoother. With the 1 healer and the 3 damaged tanks out of the way, it's time to go take out the guild leader himself, Major Polotsky. Now, while Steve did help us out back at Good Spring School, we don't have him here for this, because it's a little bit too dangerous for the little guy. I mean, case in point, we gotta heal up. Once we do that, however, guild leader Polotsky and the rest of his goons that are still alive in this tent go down no problem whatsoever. But we got more tents to clear out, so let's get to it, shall we? Not much to say about this one, just some NCR goons hanging around, apparently ignoring the gunfire they should totally be hearing, but it is the NCR we're talking about. They don't exactly have their best here at Camp Forlorn Hope. Just one more round of cleanup duty. All said and done here, pretty much. Okay, yeah, we're done now. We're gonna head on down to Nelson, which I don't have on fast travel yet, so strolling on down here, gonna break into Dead Sea's barracks. He's gonna be like, "What are you doing here, profligate?" And the Roach King's like, "You talking to me like that, son? I'm a king, no profligate, and by the way, I did your job for you." And what is this? A machete as an offering? What kind of nonsense is this? Nonsense? What do you mean? This was used to split the heads up, and the Roach King's like, "Nope, don't want to hear it." Well, maybe I can give it to Steve as a skateboard or something. And you see Dead Sea fuming under that little mask of his, "True to Kaiser." And after we go ahead and cash in on our level up, we are not finished irritating other characters today. As we make our way on over, trying to get Novak on our fast travel point, this guy, Ranger Milo, tries to stop us. We tell him who we are. How do you not know the Roach King, right? He says he's heard a lot of bad things about us. And the Roach King's like, "Well, I don't care. I'm gonna straighten you out, boy." Yes, we'll see about that. We just cleared out all of Camp Forlorn Hope, and 1 Ranger and 3 NCR troopers think they're gonna stop us? I don't think so. But we can get something very awesome here. And that is a means to repair our handy-dandy NCR disguise, which we're going to need for a little bit later in the run. But all disposed of, and with a healthy dose of NCR dog tags, well, we know that the Fiends are loosely affiliated with Caesar's Legion, so we're gonna make our way on over to Cottonwood Cove and hang out with our boy, the Centurion Aurelius of Phoenix. It's one of those instances where you go to turn in a repeatable quest, and you think you have more dog tags than you do. I mean, 48 is still not bad at all. We're, 2 short of getting to Idolized almost immediately with the Legion. But I'm like, man, I just wiped out so many NCR troopers. Was it really just 48? I mean, I know not all of them dropped NCR dog tags, but still, man. But hey, we haven't taken out all of the NCR yet because, well, First Sergeant Astor, despite the fact we're vilified with the NCR, just accepts what we give him from Aurelius of Phoenix at face value. I will cut First Sergeant Astor a bit of slack here because it seems like his communications are very limited, so maybe he doesn't know of the Roach King's vilification with the NCR yet, but he's going to not hear before long. As we explore more of the Mojave Wasteland to bring tribes under our glorious heel, we're going to hit up the field shacks, do our usual rigmarole, all that good stuff. Got to make sure we get the pressure cooker that's here. If you're ever just having fun casually playing Fallout New Vegas, make sure that you grab this pressure cooker. If you don't have the skill check for Jack, you're good to go with your rebreather. But hey, you know who's not good to go? Our man, George, boy! Oh, and I'm just realizing not only have we not run an automatic weapon character on our show yet, but it's Georgie Boy's first death via an automatic weapon and a super big gun to boot. Oh, don't you just love it? And hey, I always try to add new content to my runs. That's been consistent so far. Thanks, Georgie Boy. As for the Boomers and Ellis artillery strike, yeah, they're bad at their job as usual. So let's cut to some Boomers content, shall we? Now, you know that the Roach King is eager to help out with an ant infestation, sworn enemy of his Rad Roach minions, so we're going to take them out lickety-split. Well, it's a good thing I've been bumping up my speed check so that I could get Loyal's quest item to make this way easier and faster. Always appreciate that. We can grab some spare 5mm ammo from their armory. I mean, it's not like they know. We can always just say that the ants ate it. And having a fair bit of scrap metal, there's just one more thing we have to do for the good old Boomers and Nellis before they bend the knee to the one true king. So they want us, as the good king, to raise their bomber for them, and they will forever swear fealty and allegiance to the Roach King. Now, before that, we're going to Camp Golf, and those of you who have seen some of my previous New Vegas runs know why I always have this on my fast travel point, because it's super easy to get over to the Crash B-29. But, this time around, we have to make sure that we take out the NCR at every turn, the greatest threat to the Roach King's rule. The NCR likes to tote their Rangers as being these elite fighters. Well, I don't think so. One Roach King, who's basically wearing his pajamas, let's be honest. Pajamas he hasn't washed in a fair bit of time here. And one minigun, which apparently he's strong enough to just carry around no matter what. Just cleaning the house here, doesn't matter. And hey, taking out Chief Hanlon earlier is also an elimination of leadership. Another one of the guild leaders just wiped off the face of the Mojave Wasteland. And wouldn't you know it, there's all the sweet fat loot that you would expect from raiding a, not a raid, what would it be? An outdoor dungeon? Maybe a solo player dungeon? Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, I figure if we went ahead and wiped out the Rangers here at Camp Golf, might as well go for the lower part of the food chain here. And here's where we're about to get a bit humbled. Also, I made a bit of a mistake here. I go in with the hollow points. Didn't mean to do it, but you'll see just how much less damage we deal to the NCR troopers, and we get taken out pretty quickly, all things considered. That's okay, though. On our second try, for some reason, we have our standard ammo loaded. Not sure why that's the case. But with the correct ammunition in our minigun, we're able to take out the NCR troopers without much trouble. And here's where I pick up a little trick. I'm like, well, if I zoom in and aim for their heads with a minigun, well, probably good things are going to happen. And, well, they do. And last but certainly not least, we are going to clean Camp Golf of those awful misfits. I gotta say, I don't like the guy with the mohawk trying to take my name. It's got one too many Z's in it, unless it's short for a razzmatazz, that raspberry cordial that bartenders pour in. A good old razzmatazz, many good memories from when I used to be a bartender. With 3 of the 4 misfits out of the way, there's just Poindexter. I'd make a nerd joke, but I'm pretty sure that was the intention with this character's name, and, well, he's dead. Just a couple of more NCR troopers here, and we can try out our zoom-in, aim for the head with our minigun trick, and wouldn't you know it, it actually works out pretty well. Who would have thought that a fully automatic weapon that's known for tearing through lightly armored targets would excel when specifically aimed for headshots? Oh man, and as the Roach King makes his way to Lake Mead, okay, I gotta break character for a second. You know when this guy takes a dunk into Lake Mead, he's just turning this clean water into Capital Wasteland quality of filth. And you might be thinking, yo, Roz, like, the commentary is just weird today, man. What gives? Well, see, according to this right here, the Roach King is believed to be insane, and I have to be in character for this run. And if we're playing as the Roach King, who doesn't make sense anyway, some of my commentary, mostly my meta stuff, isn't going to make sense either for the context of this run. Regardless of how much sense it makes, at the end of the day, as long as it glorifies our great king, does it really matter? Now in Freeside, we're going to make our one and only stop to our boy Dixon here. He is our day trip perk fodder. Once we're done with him, well, his services are no longer required by our Roach royalty. And don't worry, we're going to repair our psychotic helmet from Mick inside of the Mick and Ralph's, what is it called? Mick and Ralph's gun shop. And you know what, while we're in town, let's ingratiate ourselves with the common folk here. The Roach King is going to sign up for a day of work, and leave it to good old Gloria Van Graff, the head of a criminal family, to conduct absolutely no background check on us whatsoever. Like, what is this? She sees some guy in these dirty pajamas, and is just like, yeah, that's exactly the type of guy I want guarding my front door. Maybe his body odor will keep unwanted away. Oh, Gloria, baby, are you ever ring-a-ding wrong? And, well, Simon is a witness, and we can't leave any witnesses behind, so get on out of here, son. Now, as a sign of the Roach King's immense generosity, we are going to help the false king here by clearing out more NCR, on the condition that the king and his boys swell fealty to the one true king of the Mojave Wasteland. And as you can guess, this encounter was super easy. We have hollow points to deal with, a bunch of enemies who are wearing light armor. And gotta say, I really do appreciate the bloody mess. It's almost like the New Vegas RNG itself is paying tribute to our good king with an excess of bloody mess kills. I'm never gonna say no to that. Now, before we make some progress, we're gonna head on over to Vault 3, the headquarters of our most staunch and loyal allies, the Fiends. We have Day Tripper, so we can go pay a visit to our boy Motor Runner here, sell the jet to him at a generous 20 caps a pop. And, I mean, hey, apparently he thinks that the Roach King is an honorary fiend as well. And yeah, you saw at the start there where the speech check was reduced to 5 to enter. Yeah, that's courtesy of the Fiends and Me mod. Super awesome mod. Once again, link for that and the other mods I use for Fallout New Vegas in the description below. And speaking of Fallout New Vegas things, I mean, just look at it, man. There's a minigun pack just glitched out as we pull out our minigun and take aim. Maybe that's the marker for the Helios 1 satellite cannon to take aim and wipe out God knows how many profligate troops down there. Well, it might be a little silly looking, but you know what? As long as it's doing that, I don't mind it so much. Okay, I think we've neutralized the NCR a fair bit here, at least enough to start securing our role in the Mojave Wasteland here. So we're going to head on over back to the Strip and start dealing with Bizzo here. By that, I mean advancing with the main plot. Now, the Roach King could just wipe out everybody here on the tops, but once again, as a sign of his immense generosity, he makes a deal with Swank. Pay me tribute, and the tops will survive. I just want your checkered, boy. And hey, you know what? I think that's enough to convince Swank. And, well, I don't know about you, but Benny versus a hollow point-filled minigun? Yeah, I don't like his chances. And he's dead. Now, you're going to notice something pretty awesome here, and no, not our level up. I mean, yeah, the more power the Roach King amasses, the better for us all, right? But as we make our way on outside, you know, we're going to have our usual chit-chat with our man Wolpez. Sometimes it's hilarious, and it just depends on what I feel like doing to Wolpez in our runs. Our good friend Wolpez actually approaches the Roach King and has an offer of an alliance to one Kaisar, courtesy of the Mark of Kaisar. Well, that's a great honor. We should certainly meet up with the mighty Kaisar, right? But you notice as we make our way to Mr. House, we didn't get approached by an NCR trooper. That's right, we are still at Vilified with them, and well, here's why. I had to cut this little bit from the run as to not make it like a 3-hour video. But you see that screenshot there? Yeah, we killed Cassandra Moore before we even entered the tops here. So we're never going to get our second chance, apparently, because Cassandra Moore is a plot-critical NCR NPC, because we disposed of her and cannot actually continue the NCR chain. We're just forever locked out of it. Don't you just love that? You can wipe out all the ranger stations and everything else, but as long as Cassandra Moore is okay, yeah, sure, fine, second chance, whatever. I can only guess that Aaron Kimball is a simp for Cassandra Moore. I mean, she's pretty awesome. But to be awesome enough to be the breaking point for which you're willing to broker a peace with a former enemy, I don't know about that. And hey, if you don't believe me, we're gonna march right on down to the NCR embassy and just start taking bodies and names here. Interestingly enough, Ambassador Crocker, with what I just said, killing Cassandra more prematurely, causes him to never spawn. I never knew that going into this run. I just did it because I thought it would be a funny gag, and I'll tell you straight away, the reason why I said it would take about 3-ish hours is because I died a ton of times trying to pull that off. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you to hear because Hoover Dam is absolutely infested with NCR ants. And, you know, all joking and in character aside here, it's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing runs in Fallout 3 New Vegas so much. I swear, I learn new stuff every time I play these games. Like, when you think you've seen it all, man, you haven't. And, well, since Ambassador Crocker hasn't spawned, we're gonna have to take a little trip to take out one last NPC. Someone who's always kind of a Karen whenever you talk to her. Liz O'Malley here. Yeah, she's being turned into Swiss cheese. Now, you know, if we're meeting Kaiser, a fellow king, we have to bring Steve with us. Steve has been able to experience a ton of adventures so far, including helping us clear out Goodsprings without wasting ammo at the beginning, because Steve is just such a bro like that. And as we get through the first part of Fortification, well, it's going to look like Steve just despawned or something. Don't worry, once we get to the second half, closer to Kaiser's time, he will appear. So, just think about it. Our buddy Steve the Rad Roach is ancient in Rad Roach years. He survived the trip over to the Mojave Wasteland, survived for 4 years, got to visit the Strip, the first Rad Roach to ever do so, I'm pretty sure, and now he gets to meet the mighty Kaiser. So, Kaiser, what do you think about the Roach King? What do you think of our exploits so far?
So, I finally get to meet the courier who's caused so much trouble for the new California Republic. You spread word of the massacre of Nipton, just like Wolpez asked you. Beams of light shot down from the sky over Helios 1, killing who knows how many profligate troops. You turned Camp Forlorn Hope into a mass grave. The profligates still hate me more than they hate you, I think. But I've been at this longer than you have. I get it. We share a common enemy. And now you come before the mighty Kaiser to what? Offer your services? And you fell for that? Really? Because I'm going to have you killed now. Relax. I'm with you. You do know why I wanted to meet you, right? A man nearly kills you, so you track him across the breadth of the Mojave. You arrive on the Strip and waltz into the Lucky 38 like someone left you a key under the doormat. You assassinate the head of the chairman in his own casino and get away with it. But the topper, the coup de grace, Mr. House dies while you're visiting him at the Lucky 38. When you set your mind to something, you get results. I like that. The question is, are you ready to get started?
He's right. We are awesome. Now, as a sign of good faith, as a token of our new alliance here, we're going to do Kaiser a favor. Go ahead and head to the Securitron bunker with our platinum chip in hand and just lay waste to the entire thing. I mean, who needs robots when you've got rad roaches, right? And hey, you know what? Let's bring Steve along with us. This shouldn't be too bad. Now, we do have to be mindful of our minigun. I haven't repaired it yet. I mean, as evidenced by the very poor conditioning. And I mean, repairing a minigun just through bottle caps is insanely expensive. That said, I very much underestimated just how durable this bad boy was. And I mean, for the most part, between Protectrons and Mark III laser turrets, nothing really stands a chance against us, although we do have to dispatch any opposition quickly, because you saw us die a couple times earlier, and, you know, the many times I died at Hoover Dam trying to kill Cassandra Moore. One other thing to take into consideration, however, is that once we destroy these generators, we have to worry about, I think it's 4 sentry bots. Now, we do have armor-piercing rounds to fight them, but they are sentry bots. They still hit gosh darn hard. For added experience points, I decided to go ahead and take out the turrets right by where you would power up the Securitrons, but because that is of zero interest to the Roach King, well, we've done away with the Securitrons forever. Time to get out of here and hope we don't die too many times in the process. The last one's down, time to get on out of here. Our radiation score is gonna spike while we're trying to get out of here, but thankfully we do have the ever-reliable Dr. Ada Strauss, who just she's just willing to help out anybody. She helped out Gary in his run, so she's definitely going to help out the Roach King, you know, on the threat of her own life. Speaking of threat on our life, these sentry bots are no joke, but again, we do have armor-piercing rounds, and gotta say, I was really proud of myself for this encounter here. We're taking out these guys real fast. I knew it would be fast, but armor-piercing rounds, ammo variety makes all the difference. You can bypass that encounter if you have a repair skill of 60 or higher, but we don't. Not that we needed it, right? But unfortunately, since we lost Steve in the Securitron bunker, well, the Roach King's not feeling entirely generous about getting an allegiance with Kaiser and the White Gloves. Someone's gotta pay the price, right? All you gotta do here is kill off Marjorie and Mortimer, and you're good to go. Now, considering that Mortimer is protected by a trusty tuxedo, and Marjorie is protected by a rather frilly pink dress, I think we're good. Although our minigun did break trying to get out of here, but considering that we have the Great Khan armor, we can still cash in our favor from the king, steal from the boomers, all that good stuff. Repairing our minigun, it's going to be a lot of caps, but no big deal. Also, I lost out on a bunch of bottle caps because I got several implants from Dr. Usanagi just to further increase the power of the one true king. Making our way back onto good old Kaiser at the tent here, Kaiser wants to confide in the Roach King, saying that something's wrong with him, and I think the Roach King already knows that. Because, I mean, Kaiser going to the Roach King for medical advice, it wouldn't be my first choice. I mean, I'm just saying. But at the same time, desperation does make for strange bedfellows, so perhaps the Roach King will pull off all the stops here, perform a miracle worthy of his royal prestige. We have to travel to Vault 34, the ancestral home of the Boomers, and where an Autodoc is allegedly located. It's infested with ghouls, and we'll come to find out there were golden geckos just hanging out outside. But with our minigun, I think we're gonna be alright. And as we make our way there and start taking out the golden geckos outside, I gotta say, maybe something happened in my file because of killing Cassandra Moore or something. But I never got attacked by an NCR hit squad in this run. Like, maybe the Legion's hit squads are just more aggressive or something. I mean, that does make sense, and probably is true. But the fact that I never encountered a hit squad a single time in this run is just kinda weird, especially because I didn't discover Vault 34 prematurely. You saw it on screen. And now, here's an instance where our ammo variety comes in real clutch here. I mean, we're fighting ghouls, right? And feral ghouls aren't exactly known for being tanky. What better job for our hollow point rounds? Honestly, it's probably going to be the last time we'll use them in this run. Because going forward, and by going forward, I mean we have to kill the president of the NCR. And then it's Hoover Dam time. Probably not going to be using the hollow points going forward. That said, I have to say it is immensely satisfying just bulldozing our way through Vault 34. I always thought Vault 34 was really cool. One thing that's done super well in Fallout New Vegas are not only the lore of the vaults, just the design, the encounters, what have you. Maybe I should do a lore video on each of the vaults sometime. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, let me know, and I shall make it so. With how much attention to detail will be needed to go through those vaults, though, don't be surprised that, you know, if you guys do want to see it, it's not going to be for a little bit because I want to make sure I cover every nook and cranny in it. I want to do all the vaults justice, you know what I mean? But our time here in Vault 34 is at an end because, well, the feral ghouls, no problem at all for a hollow point minigun. With the Autodoc, Kaiser's life is in our hands. Well, because the Roach King lost his buddy Steve trying to help him, equivalent exchange is a law, so let's put that into play, shall we? As we make our way to the good old bed where the Autodoc is and do the deed, well, Lucius is understandably upset, and this has to be the silliest speech check in the entire game. They just lost their leader, who has a larger-than-life cult personality. One speech check of 50, and Lucius is like, yeah, alright, cool. I guess we move on. I would think that Lucius, of all the Legionnaires, would be a bit harder to persuade than that, but alright, I guess. Cool. I guess, well, Legate Lanus is gonna be in charge now. That is a change in management that just might benefit our good king. Oh, and check this out. This is something I've also never seen before. Like, we get the quest Arizona Killer. We're supposed to go after President Kimball, right? Well, it turns out as Lucius gives us this quest, we automatically failed it. I don't know if it's because of something I did in Hoover Dam. Like, If I killed Ranger Grant, I wasn't paying attention. He's just kind of part of the scenery. I was going for Colonel Moore in particular. But yeah, we just automatically failed the quest. I mean, not that it matters. It's not like the Legion punishes us for it or anything, because Hoover Dam is right around the corner. Let's have the Roach King meet up with the new king of Caesar's Legion, the new Caesar Legate Lanus. And y'all thought you've seen some awesome stuff in your day. Well, get ready for what you're about to see. Take this context with all the sweet street stride. The Roach King, one of the monarchs of the Capital Wasteland, is meeting up with an upstart Legate Lanus. He has to replace his predecessor, Caesar, whom he worshipped and admired a great deal. Now, the Roach King, being a much older king, a lot more experience in the monarch field, he understands what being royalty is like, so he's given Legate Lanus some pointers. And here is where the Roach King decides, you know what, I want to go back to the Capital Wasteland and just start ruling it with an iron fist. Well, good luck trying to fight the Republic of Dave. I'm rooting for you, Roach King. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm rooting for Dave, whatever. But that means that Legate Lanus is indebted to the Roach King, and that can only mean awesome things for the Mojave Wasteland. But before we start bragging about what comes after, we do have to get the NCR out of here, so let's do this. I'm feeling pretty good about our chances here. And this epic journey was way more awesome than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be awesome, but the fact that I learned something new here, killing Cassandra more prematurely, permanently locking you out of the NCR story chain, and that this little action apparently locks you out of ever being able to complete Arizona Killer. It's like I said earlier, playing through Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I feel like I learn something new every time, and it's always just so much fun. I am, however, willing to wager that the NCR here are not having a fun time. We go ahead and power up through the use of our chems, and in the memory of our lost ancient rad roach Steve, just start mowing through the NCR troopers here. Tearing through them in rapid succession also makes me realize just how effective the whole strategy of zoom in with your minigun, aim for the head, and good things will happen. Like, because the Roach King canonically does not have a Pit-Boy, thus we cannot use the flashlight or VATS mode, I actually feel like VATS mode would be a bit more of a penalty for us this run, because being able to zoom in and target specifically makes it feel like this weapon in particular, probably the same thing for the 10mm automatic shoulder Gatling gun you get in Lonesome Road, it just works out so well. And as we make our way east, I know earlier in the run I mentioned having the Great Khan armor. Man, I gotta tell you, she was the absolute savior of this run, because I was not prepared for how much 5mm ammo she was gonna sell. Like, I went to the little good runner Vendortron, and he would usually have like 250 or 300. The Great Khan armor would come packed with like 2,500 to 3,000. It was insane. But not only have we learned a lot throughout the course of this run, but the Roach King has been perfecting his diplomacy as referenced by the now 100 speech check. You really got to appreciate how far this guy's come since the Capital Wasteland. Like, they all thought he was insane, but he's actually a low-key genius. Well, the initial interior in Hoover Dam isn't much of a problem because I killed everything earlier. And making our way to plant floor number 1 here, things start off pretty well. Just a couple of NCR troopers who dare to get in the way of the Roach King and his Legion allies. Hoover Dam plant floor 1 isn't much to write home about. Some of the weaker NCR forces are here, but as we descend, we're going to start fighting veteran rangers and even, well, I'd say heavy troopers because the game wants us to think they're an obstacle, but I think we know by now here on this channel that that is never the case. Oh god, that's right, someone asked me to run in Fallout New Vegas as a heavy trooper. I gotta try to make that thing look good. Oh, I make no promises there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. NCR Veteran Ranger, no problem, no match for the mighty Roach King. Get out of here, son. Progress is looking real good here, gotta say, although, joking aside, I'm always a bit concerned because the Veteran Rangers do hit hard. If there's more than a couple of them and they gang up on us, it could be bad. But because it's General Oliver at the helm who doesn't utilize the Rangers in any capacity, you can rest assured that we're not going to really have that kind of problem. So we'll go ahead and speed through the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, the 4th floor. It's mostly the same stuff. The Veteran Rangers really are the biggest obstacle for us here. Fortunately for us, we prepared for this battle. And, oh, look at that, there's a heavy trooper took exception to what I just said before. He's got a missile launcher, too. Oh, isn't that cute? I might have been worried if that was a raider, or maybe Mayor McCready came over from Fallout 3 and fired it at us, but because it's an NCR heavy trooper, yeah, no problem at all. We even shot the missile launcher out of his hand, for goodness sake. And because the Roach King is not only feeling immensely generous, but wants to just showboat and dominate Oliver, not through power, but through the mind, something we wouldn't expect the Roach King to do this run. Steve the Rad Roach always did tell our good king that sometimes the path to diplomacy is the better way to go. I mean, Steve has 15 doctorates. Of course he's going to be the smarter mind between the two. So it's about time that the Roach King took advice like that to heart. Oh man, watching General Oliver run from the Roach King, I'd say that's silly, but no, that's actually quite in character considering that General Oliver is such a coward. And the real icing on the cake here is that when you win for the Legion, whether it's Caesar or Lanus, will mint a coin in your honor. So that means once we're done here, Legate Lanus is going to mint Legion currency, their newest coin, and the likeness of the Roach King. You just know that heads is going to be the Roach King, and tails is going to be Steve the Rad Roach. I think that's fair too, right? I mean, Steve the Rad Roach was just as much of a martyr for Caesar. And man, I gotta say, narrating that run made me feel like I was telling a Wild Wasteland story, which is appropriate because Wild Wasteland is one of the traits I picked for the Rad Roach King in this run. Not that that really came into play, but you know, I just had to pick it, right? I really hope that you guys enjoyed that run. I had so much fun with the Roach King, and thank you again for the suggestion. And now, next Fallout 3 run is going to be Fallout 3 as President Dave. That's going to be a lot of fun. And while I work on the NCR Heavy Trooper run in Fallout New Vegas, I have a couple of runs I'm going to be sprinkling in during the meantime. But I'm going to surprise you on that one. Not going to spoil that here. No way. Take it easy, guys.